And on YouTube. Joe, are we live there? Joe? We're live? Are we live on Facebook and YouTube? Okay, excellent. So again, welcome to everybody. Pleasure to be here as always. It's so funny how things cycle so quickly, it seems now. Here we are, another week into August 2022, and many trips around the sun. It just seems like time is continually speeding up, and lots of changes in the air as we continue on our journey inward. We see that this is a time of rapid change and tremendous possibilities of transformation. In fact, you could say that many of us have chosen to be here at such a time because of this. It's really the shift of the ages, as we've been seeing for a number of years. And if you've been on the spiritual path for any time, you know that this has been prophesied and predicted, and many cultures from the ancient world have looked at this as this pivotal moment when we're changing the consciousness paradigm on the planet. And we're going to look a little bit into what that means for us today, changing the consciousness paradigm. Now, if you know the word paradigm, it basically means a worldview or a model or a framework of interpretation. So it basically is operating within all minds. Every mind has a paradigm. You cannot avoid having a paradigm, or what Jesus will call in A Course in Miracles, a thought system. A thought system or a paradigm is your model of reality. And you're interacting with your model of reality or your thought system or your paradigm. And you don't really see reality so much as you actually see your model of it. And for us on this journey of awakening, we have to actually begin to really examine the framework, the model, the thought system that we are parsing or filtering reality through, because it matters a lot. And when we're undergoing a paradigm shift, this is actually not an option. It's mandatory. You actually have to look at your thought system or your paradigm, because it's oftentimes modeled on a very archaic misunderstanding of what reality is. And so it's very simply said that reality is either coming from the bottom up or from the top down. What do I mean by that? Reality is either being birthed and emerging out of blind natural forces like Darwinian chemical evolution, which is the dominant paradigm of our culture and age. It seems to be the one that makes most sense intellectually for the majority of educated people in the West. And this chemical evolutionary paradigm says that everything begins through this emergence out of the simplest material, and it begins to complexify accidentally. We don't know why, we don't know how, and it's really just purposeless. And it will continue to complexify from a single-celled organism into multicellular organisms, into thinking life, and into intelligent life. And here we are as the glorified hairless ape that has accidentally come into being and will accidentally go out of being. Just a burp in the universal digestive system with really no significance whatsoever. This bottom-up paradigm completely devalues the significance of your individual human life. At best, you're contributing to the ongoing movement of the species. And, if you ever look into the history of science and the history of philosophy, you'll see there was actually a vested interest. There was a reason to go with this model because it lets you off the hook morally. If you're just the skinless ape, then the law of the jungle still applies and you can just be whatever you want to be. And Selfish Genes, one of these books that came out in light of these models that we're talking about, Dr. Dawkins, we're going to go with Dr. Hawkins instead of Dawkins. But Dr. Dawkins wrote this book about the selfish gene. So everybody has the right to be selfish. And Adam Smith's economy, selfishness runs the economic wheels. And so predatorial capitalism is just another iteration of Darwinian evolution. So what if you're in a third world country? We're going to come, kick your ass or pressure you and take all your resources because we're the big kid on the block. Right? So this is one of the iterations or results of a bottom-up paradigm. No holds barred. Everything is up for grabs. It's the wild, wild west, survival of the fittest, and you're in a dog-eat-dog system. So deal with it. And if you're not aggressive and you're not by nature a predator, then you're prey. Or you're a predator within a localized, limited field that you can actually vent the frustration of being prey at higher levels. So now you're a predator at lower levels. So watch out for the cat and the dog and the wife, right? So this is the result of a bottom-up paradigm that says you're valueless. You fundamentally have no meaning. You're a burp. You're an epiphenomenon of material chemical impulses. And once you die, it's all black. You're done. And that is the predominant paradigm of our age. So give me that Xanax, please. Give me some more of these mind-altering substances. Hey, give me fentanyl. What the hell? So this is all part and parcel of a thought system. This is a model of who you are and what everything else is. And if you don't have value, well, then you could do anything. We could, let me not go there. Because when Lisa and I drive by the beach sometimes, there's just screaming, I don't have value in some of the outfits that we're seeing. I'll take a drink on that one. So what's the other option? Well, before we go to the other option, let's also look at what's implied within this bottom-up paradigm if you're just matter and energy, complexified. And you're in a dog-eat-dog, survival of the fittest system. Well, the dominant emotion there is fear. It has to be. I mean, look at a little bunny rabbit. That's definitely a little on the low end of the food chain, right? It's pretty much, at the bottom, it's prey. And it's neurotic. It's looking everywhere to make sure nothing is going to eat it. We're doing that socially, interpersonally, if we're not predatorial. Did you ever get around predatorial people? You can actually feel it from them. They're very, oftentimes very crafted in the way that they approach things. There's agenda. There's, sort of a stroke if they need something from you. But you could all the while feel intuitively, something about this person's off. Even if they're slick and well-dressed, there's something off. So if it's fear-based, right? If we're looking at the other version of the model, this top-down system, matter is the end point, not the starting point. Consciousness is the starting point. So when we're coming from a top-down paradigm, everything begins as an aspect or an emanation or an expression of consciousness. Which means that if you're a conscious, sentient being, you're at the very epicenter or source point of how matter behaves around you. Because you're at the peak of all of the forces and energies that will literally change matter to appear a different way. Now, if you're ignorant or ignoring your own innate divinity or higher consciousness, then you can see yourself within a thought system of the ego, a mental paradigm where all of that higher information and knowledge and power and these emotional states that are fulfilling and joyful, and the body is healthy and vibrant and vital, all of that is eclipsed or clouded because you're in an unconscious denial of your origin. And so what we have to look at today is we are going to be shifting paradigms, as we're saying, in this great epical age. We're going to start waking up collectively because each of us is waking up individually to the fact that you are not the byproduct of matter. You're actually pure consciousness having a material experience. And the implications of that are so impactful, it's hard to put in words. One of the things that I'm revisiting with Lisa is that phenomenal documentary that came out about 10 years ago called Thrive. Who's seen Thrive? Okay, 2 people. Go on YouTube today if you can and watch Thrive. It just came out not too long ago with part 2. But Thrive is put, it was made by Foster Gamble, and he was a direct descendant of the Procter Gamble empire. And he was groomed to be a leader within the establishment and realized at an early age that just wasn't the life for him and wanted to find the deeper answers to the mystery of why we're here and how everything operates. And Thrive goes through a very thorough investigation on the different elements of how this consciousness paradigm is shifting. And one of the things that you want to see is that our energy sources are going to shift. There are so many scientists now that have developed technologies that work with 0 point or free energy, not dependent on gross material fossil fuels. And so what we're going to see as we're shifting consciousness paradigms, we're changing the way this world operates and looks. So don't think that what you're doing here on a Sunday morning and onward when you're not here doesn't have its impact. Tremendous impact. So much so that we're going to start to see that this world is abundant by nature. The scarcity that we're seeing within the world with the majority of human beings on the planet is actually a engineered scarcity. And that, what Jesus will call in A Course in Miracles, it's a scarcity fallacy. Scarcity doesn't really exist. It's engineered. And it's engineered because we are duping ourselves into the thought paradigm that we're operating in. Good omen here. So we're going to be looking today again at how to shift gears, how to actually relax, because this is what's really going to help us do this, to shift gears, to go into this consciousness, new consciousness paradigm. Relax, let go, and open. So that could be the title of this talk. Relax, let go, and open. Because what we're going to discover is we've been hiding this wish-fulfilling gem, this spiritual light from ourselves. It's at our core. And it's mostly because of our fearful emotions that we don't experience it. Like Jesus says in A Course in Miracles, whatever is not of love is fear, but love can have no opposite. So fear is the denial of the reality of love. So at your core, which is your reality, is all-encompassing love that knows no opposite. You are truly the God self at your core. And so is everything and everyone else, sharing in that abundant reality. But when our thought paradigm is rooted in fear, we deny this. We're unconscious of who we are. And so we have to actually learn how to relax. Because when we're in fearful states, we're constricted, we're tense. And when we're tense, we can't understand this vast nature, this abundant nature that we are living in. So relaxing and letting go are going to be very important processes that we have to undergo. So this is why I'm going to ask you to shift the way that you're listening to this conversation now. So oftentimes we do this unconsciously as well, where we kind of put the channel on information reception in our brain function. And so we're outwardly directed and we're taking information in. And we're kind of just thinking that it's coming from outside and coming inside only. What this information is a way of remapping your focus so that it begins to light up the inner space. So I would ask you to shift the way that you're listening right now and begin to soften and relax and open to these inner spaces within your consciousness. So just start to breathe deeper. And not so much fixating or focusing on the forms and objects within your perceptual field, but rather more focused on the empty space. And with each breath, feel yourself loosening up more and more, relaxing, letting go, softening. And feel the current or flow of your breath moving through your whole body. As the breath comes in, your whole body is breathing. And as the breath goes out, the whole body is breathing. Like a spherical breath, breathing through every pore. And it's also important to recognize that the sensations of your breath are being continuously experienced or witnessed from a still point within your awareness. That at your core, you are witnessing the breath. So become more accustomed to the sensation of your breath, feeling it deeply. And of staying conscious or aware in the witnessing of the sensation. Don't drift away from experiencing the feelings of your breathing. And you'll begin to notice, if you're paying attention, parts of your body are gripped, maybe your hands or your feet, Your hips might be stressed and not relaxing into the seat. You might feel some tightness or restriction in the chest area, the lungs. So you want to practice allowing the flow of your breath to go into these tight spaces and loosening them up. And you may feel like you're working through layers of an energy onion, where some parts of the body, they start to loosen, but there's more there. So just stay in that process of working through the layers, maybe of the right arm and shoulder, if it's still tense. Just keep going until it's fluid and loose. You may find it necessary at times to breathe out through the mouth if some of this energy feels pent up. And then finally here, see if you can feel into the area of your scalp and your brain, and notice if you can, let the boundaries off of the top of your head. Oftentimes it feels like we're encased within this hard nut of a cranium. See if you can actually feel more and more this porousness and that crown of light that sort of radiates from beyond the confines of your skull, the nimbus that you see oftentimes around the heads of saints and masters, this higher or seventh chakra. Begin to feel that expansion at the top of the head as the boundaries around the cranium dissolve. And then on the last stop here, move your awareness, your attention to the very center of your brain, this pineal gland, what is oftentimes called the cave of the yogis. And Jesus refers to it as the singular eye that sees within. And take your seat here at the third eye, or pineal gland, as the witness, as the knower. This is the throne. And this will play a functional role in our journey this morning. So abide within the eye of Shiva, this all-seeing eye. Now, if it's better for you to stay with the eyes closed, remain so. Otherwise, if you'd like to open the eyes, just do not lose sight of that singular vision within the third eye, or pineal gland, as the witness of your experience. So it's very important to reinforce this, because we're going to be working with emotions and feelings this morning as a way of liberating our world paradigm. Remember, whatever is not of love is fear. And so if we're not seeing a world of love, if we're not experiencing the vitality and the health and the joy that higher states of love will naturally produce in body and mind, then we are harboring aspects of fear within the unconscious. And so we want to undergo this transformation, not only for ourselves, but for all living things, to let go of the paradigm of fear, to no longer be a carrier of a virus that is hurting life. So remaining as the witness, established as the witness, you are in the here and the now. And a good way to stay checked in with that status is maintain an awareness of your flow of breath throughout the entirety of our journey this morning. So the first stop in our readings is taken from the Tibetan Buddhist tradition, specifically the Nyingma school. And this is coming from the teachings of Padmasambhava, who was one of the greatest yogis, referred to as the second Buddha because of his impact on the Tibetan tradition. And this teaching is called self-liberation through seeing with naked awareness. This is what we're doing here this morning, peeling the layers away, dispelling the clouds and obscurations that are blocking our sun-like radiance or naked awareness. And it's this brilliance that we're hiding from ourselves that is literally the salvation of the world. So this is referred to as an esoteric teaching or a secret instruction. And so in these opening discourses of Padmasambhava, he's helping those who want to enter the experience of the secret teaching to do so. And it's very important that we hear this. In order to enter this pith instruction and to really get into the direct experience of your higher nature, you should relinquish all notions of the past. So remember, we're shifting consciousness paradigms. Your entire paradigm as you've known yourself up until this moment is based on your past. And if we are to truly radically shift from a bottom-up to a top-down perspective, we have to actually let go of the belief that we've been conditioned by, thinking that we are the product of our past and that the past made us, that we are the effect of the world and the people and the institutions and the education that we received. Nothing can be further from the truth. But in the delusion of the fear-based thought system, that is what we believe. In order to enter the secret instruction and shift paradigms, you have to realize that the world is coming from you. Something that we say a lot on a Sunday morning. That you're actually projecting the world from a secret place deep within your own core. You've never not been a creator. The trouble is we have clouds of fear in our thought system. And that's obscuring the purity and the power of how we create the world. So what we're doing is we're miscreating the world because of the way we feel. And we don't realize we're actually in control of how we feel. But if we think we're a product of our past, our feelings are out of our control. They were given to us by those people, those experiences, and those events that were out of our control. So we don't realize that in the here and now, we are miscreating a life of suffering and struggle and ill health because we are dragging our past, which says we are a victim of forces beyond our control, into the present moment. You cannot receive the esoteric instruction if you operate from such an identity. So take a moment and realize it's not as hard as it may first appear. You could actually just choose right now to, this instant, relax from your past. Let go of these feelings that are coming up that keep telling you that you need to feel these feelings because they're true based on what you've experienced from your past. You can, in this instant, let go of your past. Padmasambhava goes on. He says, you should cut off all plans and expectations with respect to the future. Well, the future really is just a past continuation. Your version of the future is simply a different version of your past. Somehow the past will make it into your future. You're still going to be the little you, operating as an effect of forces beyond your control, but you'll be somewhere further along in your timeline as your future. It's all a mental trick. It's based within the delusion of refusing to accept your creative nature and the power that you always have at your core. So cut off all plans and expectations with respect to the future. And in the present, you should not grasp at thoughts that arise, but allow the mind to remain in a state like the sky. So whatever's arising, bodily sensations, emotions, feelings, thoughts, images, you're the witness. You're not any of the phenomena that is arising. It's just so. Your nature is vast, like the sky. So you want to remain as such in this moment, as the space that is the container in which everything is arising. So don't identify or attach to mental states, emotional states, or bodily sensations. Let them arise. They'll come up, they'll endure for a little while, and then they'll go down. You remain the wakeful one in that process. Don't attach, don't identify. Be present, witnessing. So continue in this state of stable mindfulness without distraction. In this state, observe everything with naked awareness, just this pure witnessing. So again, we're setting the foundation. And then we want to look a little bit more in the commentary about this teaching of Padmasambhava. Padmasambhava says that the mind's inherent nature, which is this witnessing awareness, has existed from the very beginning. It is not created at some point in time. So everything that's arising, your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, your bodily sensations, world events, other people, your relationships, it's like a dream or a mirage. It is by nature impermanent. There's no need to go into a logical proof of that. Everything is impermanent. Everything that's born in time endures a little while and passes away. That's just the nature of time-bound things. Your mind, however, is always witnessing. It's not born in time. It is your timeless nature that you've been ignoring and identifying with things in time, your feelings, your bodily sensations, etc. And this is because also of our mental paradigm, which is a constriction of this vast space-like quality of your awareness into littleness, into fear. So you can see as we begin to feel into the feelings of fear and let them go, you will naturally buoy up in frequency. And as you buoy up in frequency, you go into more expansive states of consciousness until eventually you realize that no symbol, no concept, no image, no form is related to who you are. You play with them. That's the beauty of creation. You get to play with form like an artist, a creator. Right now, we're being played by forms as unconscious creators. So the nature of the mind, not born in time, not created at some point, but because of our ignorance or lack of awareness in previous lives and in this one, we don't believe that. We don't experience that. It is like a precious, self-luminous gem which over countless centuries has become encrusted with layer upon layer of dross. These various layers of obscuration are both emotional and intellectual. Now, when we look at Dr. Hawkins' book on letting go, this all-important process that we are looking at this morning, he's going to put forward the idea that emotions come first, that you actually have emotions and then you describe them with thoughts. So when you go to a root emotion, he says, ignore all the thoughts you have about that, because that fearful emotion, that shameful emotion, that guilty emotion, whatever it is that's based within the constriction of the fear emotion, you're going to have commentary, endless commentary on why it's there, you know, how bad of a person you are or what happened to get this emotion. So ignore the commentary is Dr. Hawkins' suggestion. Don't intellectualize the emotional state for our journey this morning. Feel the emotion in its rawness, in a state of naked awareness or witnessing consciousness that will totally accept, allow for that fear-based emotion to come up, but then you're also going to be letting it go, letting it go, letting it go over and over again. And you're going to feel parts of your body that are going to probably be holding these emotions, and different parts of your subtle energetic body that are holding these emotions. So you might feel like this physiological response, this subtle anatomy response, as you're letting go of these emotional fields of energy that have been constricting you and actually making you think a certain way. What's possible? How am I ever going to heal from this? These are all long-held emotions, and at the core is a denial of who you are. So as you begin to feel into them as the naked awareness or as your Buddha nature or Christ mind, you're reestablishing who you are. That's why these emotions will not last under your watchful gaze. You don't have to interfere, fight, judge, demand. Actually shine your light and let go of the feelings that have been constricting, painful, difficult, ill. And just to lighten things up a bit, I've shared with you before this teaching from the Vimalakirti Sutra. This is a Mahayana Sutra. And it's just a tremendous teaching of the non-dual top-down model that we're talking about this morning. And particularly this little story that starts out off in chapter 1, where the Buddha is describing the nature of an enlightened being as a creator. And so the enlightened being creates a world that mirrors back to the enlightened being its own purity. So when an enlightened being creates a world, the world is pure if the enlightened being is pure. And so the Buddha goes on this teaching along these lines, and his disciple, Shariputra, is listening to this, and he's going, wait a minute, something doesn't jive here. So the Tathagata, the Buddha, created this world, but look at it. It is not pure. It's full of struggle. It's full of death and sickness and impurity. So there must have been something off with the creator of this world system in order for it to look this way. And so the Buddha telepathically gets what Shariputra is thinking. And he says to him, what do you think, Shariputra? Is it because the sun and moon are impure that those blind from birth do not see them? Shariputra replied, no, Lord, it is not so. The fault lies with the senses of the blind from birth and not with the sun and moon. The Buddha declared, in the same way, Shariputra, the fact that some living beings do not behold the splendid display of virtues of the Buddha field of the Tathagata is due to their own ignorance. It is not the fault of the Tathagata or the Buddha. The Buddha field of the Tathagata is pure, but we, do not see it. Then one of the great beings within our universe, this Brahma, this exalted being of tremendous intelligence, starts talking to Shariputra, and he's saying, Reverend Shariputra, the Buddha field is pure. I see it as pure. But then the Shariputra said to Brahma, as for me, I see this great earth with its highs and lows, its thorns, its precipices, its peaks, and its abysses, as if it were entirely filled with struggle and difficulty. That's how I see the world. That's my mental paradigm. It's the world. It's the way it is. The Brahma replied, the fact that you see such a Buddha field as this, as if it were so impure, Reverend Shariputra, is a sure sign that there are highs and lows in your mind. And that your positive thought in regard to the knowledge of Buddha consciousness is not pure either. In other words, you're not an intuitive connection with your own core. That's why you're seeing the world this way. When you're not in intuitive connection with your Buddha nature, then you are in fear. When you're in fear, you will unconsciously project that into the highs and lows and struggles of existence. And your world will mirror back to you your thought reality, your thought paradigm. It's not the other way around. This is the shift. The shift is your paradigm gives you the world that you see. Your thought reality determines how the world shows up for you, not the other way around. That's why, I quote this often, but I never grow tired of reminding you. This is Jesus in A Course in Miracles. He says, the only thing that you need to do to have this vision of your Buddha nature and the pure world, to have happiness, release from pain, and the complete escape from all fear or constriction, is to say only this that he's about to tell you, but don't have any reservations when you say it. Hear it and let it come in. That's why it's important to relax and let this in. Because here is the power that will give you the paradigm shift. Ready? You may know this well. I am responsible for what I see. I chose the feelings I experience. And I decided on the goal I would achieve. And everything that seems to happen to me, I asked for and received as I had asked. Well, what do you mean? Whoa, whoa, whoa. I didn't ask for this struggle or this sickness. These fear-based emotions did. The blame, the anger, the judgment, the hatred, that is an asking. It's an ordering for reality to show up a certain way. This is why the purification or the cultivation of virtue is so vital to the paradigm shift. Having integrity, taking responsibility, realizing that you choose your feelings. So that then puts you back into power, into the driver's seat, and why we are here this morning, to bring up these feelings that you don't want. They're optional. You've been carrying them in from your past, but you're ready for the secret teaching. One of the things Dr. Hawkins points out early in his book, Letting Go, he says you have to bring these feelings up. Really important that you do so, and that you allow them with acceptance to come in, right? Not trying to change them. He says, but one thing that you'll discover as you begin the process is that you'll notice that you have guilt and fear over having the feelings. So there'll be another secondary commentary on, oh, I shouldn't feel this way about this situation, or I should have done it differently. And that's, you're going to have guilt and fear over your guilt and fear. There will be resistance to feelings in general. To let feelings come up, it's easier to let go of the reaction to having the feelings in the first place. A fear of fear itself is a prime example of this. Let go of the fear or guilt that you have about the feeling first. Then go into the feeling itself. It's like a security system. It's like we won't ever go back to that dark place. So there's like an alarm that goes off in your mind where you don't want to touch that old pain again. So there's a protective barrier that actually stops you and makes you resist going back into your old pain. You have to just accept that as part of the security system that you are using to try to protect yourself, but you realize it's obsolete now. And you can let it go and then enter into the feeling itself. Is that clear? That's why he says, when letting go, ignore all thoughts, focus on the feeling itself, not on the thoughts. Thoughts are endless and self-reinforcing. And they only breed more thoughts. And thoughts are merely rationalizations of the mind to try and explain the presence of the feeling. The real reason for the feeling is the accumulated pressure behind the feeling that is forcing it to come up in the moment. The thoughts or external events are only an excuse made up by the mind to distract us away from actually feeling the uncomfortable feeling. But remember, we're going in with a purpose to let go, not to rehash, not to project blame, not to come up with another excuse to feel lousy about ourselves, but to let it go. It's time. He says at the core of every fear-based feeling that you have is that you feel like in order to survive this world, you need to feel what these feelings give you. You have to be neurotic. You have to be anxious. You have to have anger and hatred. You have to protect and defend yourself. All of it is part of the old paradigm of dog eat dog. So when you start working through these layers of these old fear-based painful feelings, you're going to maybe come to that layer where if you really let go, you're not going to survive. And let go of the fear of that, and you'll realize that this was the core denial of your life, of your abundant nature, of your power. It's giving you the world of survival, the world of scarcity, the world at war are in these emotions that we carry and miscreate with. So that's why in one of his final chapters here, entitled Physician, Heal Thyself, which was said to Christ when he was on the cross. It's also, I should say this too, it's very important to get the symbology, the esoteric teaching of the New Testament. Jesus was crucified on a hill that John tells us in the gospel is termed Golgotha. And if you ever look at artists' renditions of Golgotha, it literally means the place of the skull. And when you look at some of the old ancient artist renditions, the crucified Christ is literally at the third eye on the hill of Golgotha. And in the artist rendition, it's the skull with the crucified Christ. That's this paradigm. God is dead. God is not here. You are cut off from your power, your pleasure, your truth, your love, and your knowledge. Your third eye is crucified in time. That's why the third eye is dreaming and identifying with all of the dream forms and figures. It's not awake. It's asleep. He says just because your third eye is asleep, in the Course he tells us, doesn't mean that it doesn't still image. It's still seeing, but it's seeing a world crucified, loveless, hopeless, homeless. Physician, heal thyself. Come off the cross. This is the paradigm shift. And if you take heart to realize that this was already done. Right? He says in A Course in Miracles, how many teachers does it take to heal the world? One. He took himself off the cross. And so did Padmasambhava and countless other masters that have come in to give us this knowledge, to awaken from the top down, that we're dreaming and projecting this world, and now we can heal it. So that's why he says in these basic principles that he's going over, a thought is a thing. It has energy and form. The mind with its thoughts and feelings controls the body. Therefore, to heal the body, thoughts and feelings need to be changed. I'm not giving medical advice to anyone personally. This is the paradigm of seeing things from the top down. Your body is the end point of subtler energetic processes. Fear, guilt, blame, denial, anxiety. They take their toll on your immune system, your nervous system, your cellular metabolism, etc., your bone density, etc. You're changing your energetics, which will change your biology. Thoughts and feelings need to change for you to have a physical change. That's why he says what is held in mind tends to express itself through the body. The body is not the real self. It is like a puppet controlled by the mind. And illness tends to result from suppressed and repressed negative emotions, plus a thought that gives a specific form. One particular illness, for example, is going to be chosen rather than another. Thoughts are caused by suppressed and repressed feelings. When a feeling is let go, thousands or even millions of thoughts that were activated by that feeling disappear. We need 2 hours on Sunday. Blue bag's going to go around, but I'm not done. For you joining us on Facebook and YouTube, you can click the link. We are grateful for your contribution. Please make sure you select for the 8 a.m. service, and the church and I thank you. So I do want to get to this final little statement here. Also, something you may have heard again and again, taken it from chapter 21 in A Course in Miracles. Projection makes perception. We bless the offering. Thank you, everybody. The gift and the giver are honored. May they go and do great things in the world. And so it is. They got 30 seconds. Tying it all together now. Ready? Projection makes perception. In other words, your mental paradigm has you sensing, seeing, smelling, tasting, touching the world that you see, that you experience. Just like Shariputra, if you have highs and lows in your mind, you're going to have highs and lows in the world. Even the geography where you live is a reflection of your mental paradigm. Projection makes perception. The world you see is what you gave it. Nothing more than that. No compromise. The world you see is what you gave it. That's why he'll say elsewhere, the amount of joy that the world is giving you is how much you're opening to within yourself to accept. It's not that you're unlikable or unlovable. You're projecting that. And people cannot but show up and give you back what you're giving the world. Tell me I'm unlovable. Tell me I'm good for nothing. So these fear-based emotions are giving you that projection. That's why you got to keep letting go. Finally, therefore it is important, but though it is no more than that the world is everything that you give it, it is not less. Therefore, to you, it is important. The world is the witness to your state of mind, the outside picture of an inward condition. So then he quotes Solomon, as a man thinketh, changes it a bit, so does he perceive. Therefore, seek not to change the world, but will to change your mind about the world. Change your mental paradigm. Perception is a result and not a cause, and that is why order of miracles is meaningless. Everything looked upon with love is healed and holy. That's why at the end of the story, the Buddha touches his big toe to the earth and he shows Shariputra the bedecked, jeweled universe that is hidden from Shariputra because of his mental state. It's here, right? Heaven is here. There is nowhere else. Heaven is now. There is no other time. It is our own mental state that is giving the world that we see to us. So I hope this gives you some extra ways of looking differently and really doing the work of excavating these problemsome emotions and letting them come up without fear. It's the undoing of fear now. Release. If you watch something on TV or if somebody triggers you today and you go into this unloving or angry or hateful state, thank you. Thank you. Because I know you're not causing this. You're simply reminding me of how I've chosen this in my past. And I've locked it in as my reality and my identity. Now I can see you're helping me bring it up. I need to go look. I need to go deal with this. I need to let it go. Shine it away with this witnessing. No matter what is looming on the horizon. Freaking World War III, man. You know, I'm sorry. There was this public service announcement given by the mayor's office in New York City. In case the big one hits, don't ask how it happens, but let's say it does. You can go on YouTube and watch this. Get inside, stay inside, and tune into your news, right? This is what we're talking about. When the emotion hits, go inside. When these fear bombs come up, go inside. Stay inside. And tune in to the reputable source of information from your witnessing state, your higher self, which will literally shine away the pain, the fear, the darkness. And then you will begin to create a better world, and you will see the shift. Guaranteed. That's why you're here. All right, so let's stand and seal the deal. And we just give honor and gratitude to all the illumined beings that are here this morning, physically and non-physically, to help further along this paradigm shift so that all beings may truly be happy and free. Whatever was said that is in accordance with this higher plan and purpose, may it be remembered, embodied, and given to all. Whatever was said that's out of alignment, may it be forgotten and never brought again to mind. And in this pure state of pure being, we know that the light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is. Amen. Course in Miracles tomorrow night, 7:15 p.m. in the classroom. Thank you all so much.